Please welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of ours, you guys are the real MVP. So across this video am I for you, and I thought to share where this cowboy pen colored man is actually crashing out to the fact that the judge has reduced Camilo's bill to 200 and something dollars. This was not sitting well to him, and he is out crashing out. I'm just going to roll a clip as well as some of other stitches I was able to put together because our brothers and sisters were all out there to actually share their own opinions. Leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. Please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into it. Statement by Orangeman, where he was talking about how the homegrown are the next to be deported to El Salvador. This got people reacting, and I was able to put up some stitch from white people which I posted before, or I'm going to post it after this. From black people, people that look like me, and all of that, of what they have to say about this statement and how they really need to put more precautions in watching out for themselves. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. Please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. Alright, lovelies, let's dive into it.
So let's talk about this Carmelo Anthony thing. So you saw that the DEI judge reduced his bail to $250,000. 10% of that's 25 grand. He's home. No worries, right? Let's talk, if you're arguing either side, let's talk about some legal aspects of the case, right? Texas law 9.31 section 2 says you can't provoke. He said, touch me and see what happens. Touch me and you'll see what happens. What part of that is not provoking? Number two, he's a minor, under 17 years old, and he has this weapon. That's against the law right there, right? Number three, the knife is over 5.5 inches long. That's another offense right there, right? Number four, Texas Penal 46.03 says that you can't have that at a school function, right? Oh, it wasn't on school grounds. No, but it was at the stadium, and that was a school function. Hence, it was illegal, right? Number 4 or 5, right? He was prior suspended for having that knife. He had already been suspended for having the knife. And everybody says he left and then he came back. And you can see it in the police report. There's several eyewitnesses saying, I know him from fighting, and they heard it and the whole thing. And supposedly he left and then came back. So what part of that, I mean, it's premeditated at that point if he came back to do the stabbing, right? And there's so many people out there, oh, it was self-defense. It was self-defense at a high school track meet? The guy asked him to move the tent, and that warrants stabbing somebody with a 5.5 inch, larger than 5.5 inch knife in the chest? I mean, come on. You're really reaching there, right? The law, if it's anything, it's practical. That's not practical. Equal force, right? Come on.
And you see this comment right here? This is it right here. Take a look. It says, here's the main problem with Carmelo's defense. Carmelo was the first to provoke Metcalf when he said, touch me and see what happens. He's inviting physical confrontation, right? Not only that, but even if Austin put his hands on, even if, right? He's not allowed to just pull out a knife and unalive this guy at a school event and then play victim. Come on, people. Otherwise, we'd all send our kids to schools with pew-pews. Why not? Right? It makes no sense, and the defense of this, it just keeps getting more and more and more ridiculous. And we're watching it, we're like, oh, come on, guys,
So Jeffrey Metcalf, the father of the twins, Austin and Hunter Metcalf, Austin, of course, being the victim who unfortunately lost his life at the Frisco track meet at the hands of Carmelo Anthony. We know this. He asked a very powerful question, and that powerful question that he asked was, what kind of family did Carmelo come from? And what kind of family would raise a young man like Carmelo Anthony? And why is the question about the parents so important, right? Because we know that the parents are the ones who are raising the children, and the parents' character, their morals and their value system, it's important to know what it is, because then we probably could understand more why the child reacts and does the things that they do.
I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet, and he murdered my son by stabbing him in the heart. The guy was in the wrong place. They asked him to move, and he bowed up. This is murder.
So I don't think it was wrong that he asked that question, but my question would be, since Jeffrey Metcalf was arrested back in 2011 for sexual assault, in 2011, his sons would have already been born because they're 17. So that means they would have had to been born around 2007 or so, right? And we know that he's not married or together with the twins' mother. They're separated because they have several different GoFundMes, one for him, one for the wife, and they might even have one for Hunter, but who knows? But I would want to know what kind of family would raise a young man who would try to push, physically remove someone from underneath a tent who just wants to stay dry because it's raining cats and dogs. Because I think anybody who is a devout, born-again Christian, their morals and their value systems would say, hey, get up under this tent and stay dry. So just as important as it is for Jeffrey Metcalf to ask who raised Carmelo Anthony, I would want to know who raised Austin Metcalf to be the bully young man that he was on that fateful day down in Frisco, Texas.
All rise. Court is now in session. I want to talk about the Carmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf situation, but I want to approach it from the place of how white people and mainstream media will consistently paint white aggressors as the victims. Now, I'm very blunt in what I say, and in this particular instance, I don't want my bluntness to be taken as callousness. Now, the fact that Austin Metcalf is 17 and he lost his life, that is a tragic situation all around. I don't care what race you are. To be that young and to lose your life is a tragic situation. Now, what that tragedy, the fact that that tragedy will never negate is that Austin Metcalf's death was 100% preventable by Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf is a victim of violence that he initiated and he couldn't finish. That's the reality of the situation. Had Austin Metcalf minded his business, he would still be alive and his parents would not be grieving the loss of their son. Now, again, I know that's very blunt, but there's a reason for that. Now, racism, aggression, and victimhood is woven into the fabric that is white American DNA. So much so that white people have to actively work to not be those things. However, the problem is that enough white people aren't doing the work to rid themselves of racism, aggression, and victimhood. They would prefer to just rest on the laurels of it. Everything that white people have amassed in this country has been through the violence and intimidation of black people, further proving that white people are naturally violent and are actually the natural aggressors. And I'm not saying that Austin Metcalf was not a good kid, just like I'm not saying Carmelo Anthony was not a good kid. But my issue is that if you're going to paint Austin Metcalf as the all-American boy, my question is, well, where was his all-American manners? Where was his all-American humanity? In the sense that he could not allow a young black man, he was there in an official capacity. He didn't just come up off the street. He was at the event in an official capacity, just as Austin Metcalf was. So where was his humanity in that moment that he could not allow Carmelo Anthony to sit under a tent that belonged to the school that Austin attended? It wasn't his personal tent. So he had no right to tell Carmelo Anthony to leave. He had no right to put his hands on him in the process. When a white juvenile commits a crime, regardless of the severity, there's the automatic mental health component. We have to figure out what was going on with his mental health, because he just couldn't. There's no way that a white person could commit a crime strictly of pure evil. Slavery and Jim Crow alone is evidence to the fucking contrary, but okay. But the moment a black juvenile commits a crime, It's automatically they are to be charged and tried as an adult regardless. It is your racism that allows you to think that even till this day in 2025, that you as a white person, whether you're a white adult or a white teenager, can interrogate random black people asking questions you have no fucking right to ask. And because you're white, you still wholeheartedly expect a fucking response to those questions. It is your racism that allows you to believe that you can openly disrespect black people. And because we're black and because you're white, we just have to sit there and take it. It is your aggression that allows you to believe in this day, 2025, that you can physically put your hands on black people. And again, because we're black and because you're white, we don't have a right to defend ourselves. And when that aggression is returned in kind, or it ends up in a way that you are not the victor that you anticipated on being, then we go to the victimhood. Because then you have to change the scenario to fit you being the victim and not the aggressor that you actually are. As white parents, you do a disservice to your children when you don't teach them the importance of minding their fucking business. You do a disservice to your children when you don't teach them the importance of knowing when and where to simply shut the fuck up. You do a disservice to your children when you don't teach them that fucking around can result in the ultimate find out, the outcome of which is that they won't be alive to see it. You do a disservice to your children when you teach them that their complexion is their automatic protection, because it's not. You do a disservice to your children when you teach them that whenever their actions are met with consequences, they are to lie and play the victim. Little Karens and Kens grow up to be big Karens and Kens. White women just didn't wake up one day being entitled, insufferable bitches. They've been entitled, insufferable bitches since childhood, because their parents allowed them to be that. Just like little boys grow up to be insecure and entitled white men that have an inferiority complex when it comes to black people, specifically black men. But the reason why you can't impart this level of wisdom onto your children is because you as white adults don't know when to shut the fuck up. You as white adults don't know when to mind your fucking business, especially you fucking Karens. You as parents or white people walk around thinking your complexion is your fucking protection. The behavior is learned. Bottom line. Yes, the racism, the aggression, and the victimhood, it's in your DNA. But again, you don't actively work to rid yourself of it. You just want to continue to be racist, to be aggressors, and to be fucking victims. The way to be successful in a fight is to know your opponent and know your limitations. Because a tough motherfucker knows that it's always somebody tougher. And should you encounter that person, you act fucking accordingly. In other words, assess the situation so that you don't end up on the receiving end of an unnecessary ass whipping, or worse, an unnecessary death. Court is adjourned.
The thing is, we all know that there's more to the story about the incident with Carmelo Anthony than what they're sharing with us. But even if there were not, it's still self-defense. Even if everything we knew was the only thing that was true, it's still self-defense. It's so interesting to me how everyone can understand the stand your ground law when it came to George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, which, by the way, wasn't even a valid excuse in that case. But in this instance, where someone walked up to that young man, threatened him, he gave him a warning, and then he responded after he was touched, now all of a sudden nobody gets it. And everybody keeps asking, why did he have a weapon? But I feel like we're skipping a few scenes of the movie, because the beginning and the starting question is, why did that young man walk up to him, tell him to get out of his seat, and then threaten him and put his hands on him? It's also so obvious that there's so much more to the story, and that was made extremely obvious when they only released a statement from the boy's twin brother. And they said that there were a bunch of other kids sitting around. Why are we only hearing from the twin brother? And if it was in fact true that they had no idea who Carmelo Anthony was before that moment, then again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
So Dr. Umar has spoken out about the Carmelo Anthony case, and he calls out these nationally acclaimed black lawyers who have stood in silence when they've seen that this young man is saying that he acted in self-defense. He calls the black community cowards and says that he doesn't understand why black people are surprised by the way in which white people have responded, because it's always a double standard. He said historically this is what they've always done. It's always okay for them, but never okay with us.
Carmelo Anthony, who, by the way, I believe he just got a bond and he's now able to go home and be under house arrest. Thankfully, he got that. But what is it about the white supremacists' inability to be objective, reasonable, fair, or just when it comes to black pain and suffering? They totally have ignored all of the different layers to this case with brother Carmelo Anthony. But when the Zimmermans and the other cases that are very popular nationally, how come they weren't objective and fair in those cases? But with us, when this young brother got into that situation with that other young man, why are they so unable to be objective and fair?
I would simply say, when have they ever been?
Right.
That is not their culture. That is not who they are. That is not how they've taken over the world. Okay? They are very much a narcissistic, savage, power-hungry group of... That is not who they are. That is not how they've taken over the world. Okay? They are very much a narcissistic, savage, power-hungry group of people. And for them, there is no moral code. They are very much about Machiavellian ethics, which is to have no ethics. The ends always justify the means. So I don't know why black people are surprised that when our children are killed in unjustifiable murders, we're supposed to accept the exoneration of the perpetrator. But when our child is in a position where he allegedly may have to inadvertently take the life of another person in self-defense, he's already crucified and convicted in the court of public opinion before he's ever seen a day inside of court. Why? Because he's black and the victim is white. If this was the exact opposite in situation where the perpetrator was black and the victim, where the victim was black, where the victim was black and the perpetrator was white, this wouldn't even have made television. This would not even be in conversation right now. Because in America, black life has been so devalued to the point that when it is lost, no one really responds. Now, yes, we will respond with the protest marches in that kind of a thing, but we don't do anything after that, and that's the criticism against black folks. But white people, they would have never even paid this any mind had the victim, not been white. And people are making so much noise over the fact that the young brother had a knife. Well, if I lived in Texas and I was 16, 17 years old, I would probably walk around with a knife as well.
You're damn right.
Texas is one of the most violent states in America.
Facts.
It's a state where you can open carry without a license. Okay, it is a state that aggressively defends the right of its citizens to always be prepared for combat.
Yep.
So if you don't have a problem with people walking around with guns unregistered, why is it a problem for this young child to have had a knife? You see, that doesn't make any sense. At all.
They moved that goalpost so much.
Absolutely. It's a shame. I want to see how this plays out. I want to see what attorneys actually come to the defense of this young man. I hope the same nationally recognized attorneys that come out when we are murdered by police to make that money, that death money, I would hope they come out to defend this young man, because I was part of a case last year. I don't know if you know about this. Well, I wasn't
down in Florida?
Part of the case. Yes, but I followed it closely, the case of Brendan Depper.
Yep, I know about that.
Similar situation, but drastically different outcomes. In the Brendan Depper situation, he attacked a teacher's aide for taking a video game from him that his IEP specifically stated to never take from him. So she broke the law in violating the IEP, but he was the one who got convicted of the crime.
Right.
You see, so, but again, to my point, none of these nationally recognized black attorneys came to the attention of this black boy. And I'll tell you why they don't come to the attention of black boys accused of crimes against white people. It's because it's not sexy. It is taboo. If you want to be famous and comfortable in America as a black person, you don't ever stand in defense of a black person who has ever attacked or assaulted a white person, even if it was in justifiable self-defense. And you know, unfortunately, you know, we have a lot of cowards in our community. And I don't even know if Al Sharpton has gotten involved in this yet or not. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, because again, it's not your, you know, rank and file police assassination of an unarmed black person, which is a pretty cut and dry situation, and everybody knows they're going to get paid. This is not that situation. This is a situation where you actually have to defend and stand up for this brother. From what I understand, he's never been arrested, never been to jail.
So Dr. Umar has spoken out about the...
Seriously, lovelies, in this kind of situation, it actually very, very good when you tread carefully. Like, this is a very sensitive one. And the thing is that, just like the sister I stitched her video said, this is actually an incident that could have been very, very preventable. It could have been prevented. But all because of maybe you have seen that you have maybe privilege and you can just do anything you want to do and get away with it. So because of that, you don't feel any need to prevent something that might actually end up hurting you. Or maybe because you see that the system is always on your side, no matter anything you do, you have had that confidence that you are going to do anything whatsoever and get away with it. You know, since you are the one, like you feel that you are the one in charge or you are the one that rules. So because of that, you have never thought in your widest dreams that someone might actually set you or, you know, set you straight or maybe challenge you or what have you. You know, I think parents actually need to start, you know, giving this sort of awareness to their offspring, to their little ones, to their children. Like, no matter who you are, no matter the color of your skin, like, I think that this generation is just so, they don't care. What they believe is that when they know that they are on their right, you shouldn't come challenge them. They don't even care any form of repercussion, right? So I think parents also have, you know, all of the works to do right now. This is not the time for you to fuel your children or younger ones of the privilege that they have. You shouldn't fuel them, or even if you're not telling them, there should be a scenario whereby you have to teach your own little ones growing that this world right now that we are, you just have to do the right thing. You shouldn't use maybe you have privilege or because of that you want to do whatsoever you want to do. Parents in both sides, no matter what color you are, you have to try as much as you can to raise your own appropriately, to know when not to bully anyone, to know when not to do something so outrageous. You know, parents also have a lot to contribute here because it all started from the upbringing. If your upbringing have taught you that, oh, I am in control, I'm the one that rule, I can do whatever I want and get away with it, it doesn't work that way anymore. It does not work that way anymore. And if you are in a system whereby some people are treated fairly and the other than the other, you that is treated so unfairly, we try as much as you can to defend yourself, no matter what, because you have seen that no matter anything that happens, you are still going to be the one at the receiving end. You know? And now with this case that happened within these two people. This boy was at an event, right? And under a canopy or something. And the other guy was telling him to get out, to leave. Like, it's not as if he was not supposed to be there. It's not as if he's in you people's, like, he actually came for an event, which I think he's been going there or whatsoever. And you are telling him to leave because maybe you feel that he does not belong there. Or you feel that his type does not belong there. You know? And you saw someone telling you, oh, do this and you will see. You thought this person was joking? Like, this is just something that was so preventable. If we had not even given him attention or even spoke to him, nothing of this such will even happen. But because maybe you see that, oh, what is he doing here? You have to leave, you know? I have seen so many movies and the way at which these kids behave. You have to leave. You know, you might actually be doing this to other people, but you never knew whom you might meet that will match your energy, and at the end of the day you have yourself to be blamed. Like, I am not condoning any form of, I feel sorry for anyone that lost his, but sometimes we really need to teach our kids. That's why I started with parenting. We need to teach them on how to desist themselves from any form of conflict. Like, you see a young man telling you, okay, touch me. And you go, if you see that kind of person, you're like, oh, this person is just, please, I don't want your problems. Like, this is what maybe a normal person could do because you're already bullying this person. And the person is getting angry, upset. This actually reminds me of a particular incident that happened. I think that's about last year. This dude, he owns a barbing store. He's a black dude. And there's this elderly man who often come to his, you know, to his office to call him the N-word, to use the N-word on him. And this man keep on telling him to stop using the N-word. He's an elderly person. He's an elderly pan-colored man. And this black dude keep telling him, please, don't use this N-word on me. Don't do that. But he keeps on doing that to him. Then he ignore him because, okay, he's an old man. But most of these old people are the ones that has this high percentage of Ray and Cs. Until when this black dude was walking on the street with his own children, then the old man decided to use the same word he has been using on the father to the children. That was when this man have to push this man. The black dude has to push him. And that was how everything ended. Like, you have been warned severally. You just want to do it to provoke this person. Like, there are some people that couldn't, control their anger and all of that. Yeah, there are people that have that problem. But sometimes you have to just breathe in for your own sake and safety. I'm even someone that have this, no, don't come for me so that I won't come for you. But sometimes I just breathe in and breathe and I let it go. Anyway, lovely, so now just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you're here to do that. Like, and I will see you, lovely, when I upload the next one.